Hey people, welcome to the Run Testers and to our review of the new Merrell ProMorph. This is a new road to trail hybrid that joins a growing list of gravel shoes, basically shoes designed to be versatile enough to handle multi-terrain outings. Merrell describes this shoe as one to conquer every terrain, so is it? Well, Tom and I have done the test miles and here is our verdict. Quick details then, starting with the stack height. The Merrell ProMorph has 32mm in the heel, 26mm in the forefoot for a 6mm drop. It weighs in at 267 grams or 9.4 ounces. That is a bit heavier than the Morph Light, which is a stablemate to this shoe, and that is in my UK men's 8.5 US 9 test shoe. On price, it's going to set you back £140 in the UK, $160 in the US. That's quite a bump over the regular Morph Light, which was £100 in the UK. Let's do the shoe whip round then, starting with the midsole, and we've got what's now a moderate stack of nitrogen injected supercritical Float Pro Plus foam with a really significant rocker here that curves steeply at the forefoot, and it's curved at the heel as well. There are mesh uppers that are quite soft and pliable but nicely airy with a little bit of added toe protection here, plus medium padded heel collars and tongues with a pretty classic lacing setup. When you flip them over, it gets interesting. You've got a Vibram XS Trek Evo rubber outsole with loads and loads and loads of 2.2mm lugs. You know, the Morph Light had a combination of 2 and 3mm lugs, but there was far fewer of them. And this new lug-loaded outsole is aiming to provide better grip, giving the ProMorph a bit more bite when things get more testing, but crucially staying adaptable for that multi-terrain capability.
So the fit for me in this shoe, I am a size 8. I've got this in a size 8, and I found it to be a very comfortable shoe. There's plenty of space for my big toe, not loads, but enough for me. So I'd say just that's the sort of thumbs width that people want. It's got quite a roomy forefoot and midfoot as well, but you can get a nice lockdown fit in it. I found the padding around the heel collar and the ankle very, very good. And I got a nice lockdown fit in the heel as well. It felt very comfortable on both road and trail conditions. So I definitely stay to my UK size 8 in the ProMorph.
So when it comes to fit, I ran in a UK 8.5, which is a US 9 in Merrell's. That would be the usual shoe size that I would choose for Merrell's. It was what I ran in for the Morph Light and the MTL Adapt initially. And what I'll say about these is actually I get a decent amount of clearance in the sort of toe box. There's just about enough room. They are quite narrow up front, they're right up here, so basically back down into the toe knuckles you can already feel it's not squashed, but it is quite a sort of tight fit. Also quite tight across the top of the midfoot for me. You can see a bit of my foot kind of spilling over here, and I don't know, just there's almost like a little bit of a disconnect between the way the forefoot feels and the midfoot feels. It just doesn't feel shaped very well to my foot. Not like, I think the Morph Light was pretty good on that front, and other shoes just feel more natural. Also back here I find the tongues just come up a little bit too short. I can't quite get them pulled up to get this bit here sat comfortably across the back of the toes, and I want more tongue. I want to drag this bit up, but there's not enough tongue to do it, and so all this bit just doesn't feel quite as comfortable as I would like. When you go back into the heels, when you put them on, you have to watch that this stuff doesn't all collapse and fold in, and it can just move. There's a bit of movement in the heels here from the inside, bit of padding, which again, it just doesn't entirely feel natural. It's a bit low as well on the heel. I don't know, yeah, this sort of cutaway, there's just bits of it just don't feel immediately comfortable. I would probably say it'd be worth trying half a size up if you've got particularly wide feet or big feet. And that may well make it a little bit more accommodating and make the whole thing feel a bit more roomy and a bit more natural on the foot. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Maybe consider half a size up.
Okay, so the ProMorph is a shoe that is designed for being able to run on road and lighter trails. Essentially, it's a shoe for runners that are doing a lot of running on public footpaths. Maybe you live in a town or a village and you do a lot of running around the slightly muddy or gravelly routes that go around like sort of the outside of the normal roads. And it's an interesting concept because there aren't that many shoes that do it. There are some good road shoes that have quite good outsoles on them that you can generally use for running on lighter trails. But this is a shoe that is specifically designed for runners that are crossing that boundary all the time. A good example would be park runs where you're going out to run on a park where you've got a little bit of road, and you've got a little bit of off-road stuff in it as well. That's sort of the shoe that's what this is designed for. And I've used it across a few different terrains. So I've done quite a lot of road in this. I've done about 35k in road, and then I've done about 20k on the trails in this as well. And the trails that I've done used it for have varied a little bit. So I've been across fields, I've been down public footpaths, and I've been on rocky paths up to the South Downs as well. And it's quite a difficult shoe to categorize because it does that dual thing. I think on roads it's not the best road shoe out there. I definitely feel like it's quite firm, and there's a thing with this shoe where the rocker is really quite pronounced. There's a very noticeable rocker in it, and it almost tips you forward when you're out jogging in it or even walking in it, and it lands you on that forefoot. And for me, it feels a little bit aggressive for what it's doing. I don't think it's a speed shoe. I think it's a shoe that's more designed for sort of general running, but giving you a bit of versatility as well. But for me, running on the road, it's definitely a little bit too firm for me. It feels more like a trail shoe on the road than what I would normally expect from a road shoe. When you hit those softer paths, public footpaths, I think that's when it comes into its own. It's got a really nice outsole on it, really good. They're not massive lugs at all by any stretch of the imagination. They're definitely not designed for wet mud or anything like that. This is firmly a shoe designed for comfortable paths, but slightly softer paths. I think when you're running on those softer public footpaths, I think the fact that this is a little bit firmer midsole doesn't it actually works a lot better, because you want a bit of a firmer midsole when you're running on softer paths as well, because you don't want soft on soft, because then you sort of lose all your energy. So I think it works very well for that, but I think that it's a little bit of a jack of all trades but master of none, and that the trade of the shoe is running those sort of park run routes where you just want a bit of both things. But if you were just looking for a road shoe, or you were predominantly doing road running and you very rarely went on to the public footpaths, it's just not the best road shoe out there. I think it just comes into its own on those sort of lighter trails, and also I think it's a little bit aggressive as well for some people. If you're looking for a very comfortable shoe just to go out and clock up the miles, I think you might find this a little bit too much of a rocker to go at a nice, comfortable, easy pace, because it does seem to make you want to sort of push forward and land on the front of your foot.
Now in testing, I've done just short of 50k in the Merrell ProMorph, and in theory it's a shoe that should really suit my regular run routes really well. My runs often take me sort of 2 miles on the road before I hit the Thames River path, which is compact, hard, kind of mud riverside track. It can be smooth, sometimes it's sort of stony, sometimes in the rain things can get a bit more slick. There are cobbled sections that can be wet, that require a bit more grip when that happens. Some of it can get rutted when it's rained and then dried out. So it's the kind of mixed terrain that I think the ProMorph is actually designed for, and on the whole the ProMorph copes quite well with that, though I've been slightly underwhelmed overall with the shoe. Now it's packing a bigger stack than the Morphlite, but has quite a shallow stack, I think, under the forefoot, at least by current standards, kind of on the road and the trail when you're comparing it to other shoes that are out there now. That perhaps helps it stay sort of among the lighter road to trail shoes, which is significantly less weight than the likes of the Hoka Mafate or the Challenger. And if you like things more cushioned on the road or the trail, you might find it though a bit direct underfoot, particularly in that forefoot. I think you also really notice the forefoot rocker the moment you put them on. That's there to help ease you over the more challenging terrain, but also help keep you rolling on the road. However, I found it a bit kind of heavy-handed. You can almost feel the kind of fulcrum point in this shoe, and so everything for me wasn't immediately natural. I also didn't quite get the easy instant stepping comfort that I got with the Morphlite, which was something that I really liked about that shoe. The fit on the ProMorph isn't quite as comfortable. They don't feel as natural on the foot. The other thing I noticed was the heel package. It kind of soft, it sort of folds down a little bit when you put them on. And I prefer heel collars that sort of deliver padding but sort of stay put. This has a tendency to sort of bunch a little bit. Now the Float Pro Plus foam is designed to be soft enough on the road but not too soft for the trails. I definitely found it more comfortable on the softer ground. Again, I think you really notice the rocker when you get moving, particularly if you sort of land further back in the shoe. And it can make the ProMorph feel a little clunky at times, not as smooth as I would really have liked. So particularly kind of when you're landing further back, it's less so when you're landing further forward. The Shadow 2mm lugs are good for the switch up between dry trail and tarmac. running in good conditions, but not so much if things get more testing on mud, technical, slippy, rocky terrain and wet grass, that kind of stuff. In terms of the pace range, I found it light enough to move up through the gears. I got reasonable stability and reliability underfoot. I'm not 100% sold on white as a good idea for a mixed terrain shoe, but beyond getting dirty fast, the durability does seem to be holding up.
So my verdict on the Merrell ProMorph, I think it's an interesting concept. I think it's an accessible shoe if you for a very specific type of person. If you are running around a park all the time, if you're doing park runs and you're going on and off the paths and going onto to the off-road sections, but it's light and comfortable trails, I think it's fine. But if you're doing more than that, if you're doing whole runs where you're going out on the road for 10k, if you're doing lots of trail stuff as well, it doesn't really fit into either of those. It only really fits into that very specific use case, which is if you're going on a park, then you're going on and off on the road. And I'd also say it's probably not a long distance shoe for me as well. It just feels a little bit too firm for longer distance. I think I'd probably only got 10k in this shoe. Having said that, I've found it absolutely fine to go running in. I think if you like that sort of toe off, that sort of slightly more rockered feel, and it is a noticeable rocker, I think you will like that. And it definitely feels like a shoe that's built for a little bit of versatility. It's not really an easy run shoe. I think it's a shoe that wants you to run a little bit faster or pick up the pace a little bit. I don't think it's a speed shoe. It's definitely not the road. I don't think it's a speed shoe. If when you get onto the trails, it's a bit faster just because of that rocker, because you don't normally get that level of rocker in trail shoes. But yeah, I think it's a shoe that has a specific purpose. If you're looking for that specific purpose, you're probably going to like the shoe. And if you like that rocker, if you only do that very rarely, if you're spending a lot of your time on roads or on trails, this doesn't really do either of those really well. So you're probably going to need two shoes for that. But yeah, I think it's an interesting concept, but for me, I just think it's a bit of a niche shoe.
Verdict then, we've joked a lot about the Morphlite on the channel, mainly because it's quite an unassuming and simple shoe, but it's surprisingly good for the budget price tag and a very sort of capable all-rounder. I really liked it. So I had high hopes for the ProMorph that would build on that. But after testing, I'm sadly not as sold on this shoe as I was its predecessor, or its stablemate. It's not as easily comfortable as the Morphlite. I'm a little too aware of it on the foot, both the way it feels from a fit perspective and kind of the uppers and whatnot, but also the ride. Then there's the price tag. It's higher, kind of chunk higher than the Morphlite, which means it's got some pretty stiff competition from trail shoes that run well on the road. I'm going to say things like the Speedgoat 6 from Hoka in that bracket, the Mafate 5, the OnCloud Surfer Trail, the Asics Gel Trabuco 13. These are all shoes that I can do just as good a job as the ProMorph across surfaces, I think. I think they're also road shoes that you'd probably take to dry surfaces that could run as well. I think my biggest question mark, though, with the ProMorph is really whether I need it. It's shooting for quite a niche case, and I'm not sure it lands well enough to really make me choose it over a well-cushioned trail shoe, even with the 4mm lugs. They might stick on the road a bit, but you're getting that kind of extra traction when you really need it. It's a bit more versatile. Or conversely, to chance a road shoe on dry trail terrain where you're not taking on anything steep or technical, those runs where you can get away with a road shoe, I think you would probably just do it rather than choose this shoe. It just doesn't quite land for me. So I'm not 100% sold on it. I think I'd probably just run in the Morphlite over it as well. So there you have it. That has been our review of the Merrell ProMorph. Hit us up in the comments below if you've run in the shoe. I'd love to hear what you've made of it. Do you actually think gravel shoes is a category that we need, these kind of hybrid shoes? Or is it we all getting a bit too niche? If you're interested in road to trail shoes, I'm going to put a video up on the channel you should check out right now. Otherwise, as ever, thank you very much for stopping by. And until next time, happy running, people.